Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Tie That Talk Official Podcast, where we have comfortable and uncomfortable conversations. I'm your host, Juice, aka No Worry Brother.
What's good, everybody? Welcome back to your favorite show. I go by the name of King Exodus. Thank you for your time. Thank you for tapping in. Make sure you share the video, share the live.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get into the meat and potatoes for tonight, do a couple of live at fives, intro topics. Won't be too long. Juice, I'll let you introduce the first one.
All right, first one I want to just put on the table, man. You have the lovely Stacey Dash at 58 starting the OnlyFans. I'm starting to see a trend in what's going on in this world in the economy. It's either you're running low on money or you're running low on attention. And the direction some people are more excited, like, yeah, man, everybody wanted to see Stacey Dash back in the 90s. I was like, yeah, that's Stacey Dash back in the 90s, bro. This is later on at 58 years old. I would think within a time period of where we have lived a life of access, uh, and betterment, value, and certain things of that nature would be able to maintain as we got older. Some people say, well, look, some people who do content is technically not devaluing themselves. They're just doing things for money purposes. But I look at somebody's past and what they have had and what they have been able to achieve, and I often question, well, if that's the fact, then you made more money back then, you had everything back then. Why now? If it was nothing that stirred you to this direction, why now? Like I said, I think that's bonkers for one to be over like 50, like 55, 50, and want to go a route of doing OnlyFans. We also have, what's her name, Vivica K. Fox. She went and got a BBL. I like, yo, what is really going on? Is the male attention still there that people are looking for? Is it the money? And also, I want to put on the table, she also got married 4 times. That's 4 times more than any a majority of individuals will ever have the opportunity to even get married once. So that's all I got to put on the table right there, man. Is what do you think about the situation at hand with Stacey Dash? Is she too old to be doing OnlyFans, man? Like, had 4 marriages, nothing didn't stick. And I'm also put this out there because we talked about the title is People and God. She became a renowned Christian. So then to see you go from that stage to OnlyFans, I'm like, yo, what's really going on? I think people just like to play with God these days.
She got to get that money, man. She got to get that bag.
All right, bro.
The bag is a bag on the table. She like, hey, shit. I look at it like this, man. It's like I said, it's a scenario where there's money on the table. She gonna go get that bag. She's probably looking at the numbers and the metrics, like, okay, bet I know I can make money off this. To me, it gives. It's no different from like a grifter. You know what I'm saying? That's like looking for their next grift. I know some people that do content like videos, like whatever's hot, that's what they navigate towards. Podcasts, okay, bet, let me get a podcast. Okay, NFTs, okay, bet, let me get an NFT. Everybody talking about crypto, okay, let me talk about crypto. I look at that as like one of those things for women. It's like I think a lot of people just got identity issues. Like they don't know who they are.
Ooh,
Uh,
that's interesting.
they don't have the validation with themselves. So, age is void to somebody moving in self-destructive paths to try to find who they are. You know what I'm saying? So I just look at it like that. That's like, dudes that, were one of our favorite Dave V songs, the Peter Pan song, you know what I'm saying? Some
Yeah.
niggas never grow up, you know what I'm saying? So I just look at it like that. It's just, like I say, she'd probably get into a bag, but I think it's an identity crisis somewhere in there. When Shannon did what he did and got caught up with a young girl and lost 20 M's, it was like, fam, what you doing? You need to go somewhere and be a grandpa. Same thing. It's like people don't want to do what's applicable to their age. It's like they still fighting to be young, or it's still something on the table that they didn't do within their youth. Whether they got money or not, that's what I'm noticing. Our last conversation about OnlyFans, I was like, yo, people doing what they got to do to get to the bag. But on the flip side, it's sometimes it's a little bit deeper than that. Sometimes people just don't know who the fuck they are, so they started chasing their youth instead of acting their age. So, yeah.
All right. So I counter with something real quick. Do you say Shannon wasn't being exposed openly
Mhm.
outside of the little what's it call it, the little video of him,
Mhm.
doing it, and then you hear the moaning and stuff. Do you think there's a difference between the exposure publicly versus private matters, or they're all this? Are you
What-
gonna say like what she's doing is the same level as Shannon Sharp?
It's the same level. What's done in the dark, just because it's not in the light, don't mean you're not doing it. If we know what you're doing and we know what somebody else doing in the light, y'all equal at that point, regardless to if your shit hit the public or not. It's like if you know somebody that's married, but they living a double life. They still hitting the clubs, cheating on their wife, doing all this, but you're single, so people look at you like a player, or, you know what I'm saying, a 304 type of guy. You and that other dude is equal.
Oh.
People just people just don't know y'all equal, but y'all are the same people, the same person. Just because one is married and one is single, don't mean y'all the same person.
All right, hey. Well, we get what like I said, comfortable, uncomfortable conversations. I would think those would be kind of completely different, especially one selling content versus one who just got through this.
I'm just
But all
saying
right, brother.
it's the same as act your age. At a certain age, you got to start doing grandparent shit. You got to settle down, figure it out. You shouldn't be single past a certain age. You shouldn't.
Ooh,
You, yeah,
now
that's what
that's
I'm saying.
interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That gonna be a subject right there.
Somebody
Like,
should
is he
be
single past
somebody
a
should
certain
be at
age?
the crib waiting on you to get home past a certain age. No excuses.
My dogs and cats can't be the ones waiting on.
Buy a dog, die alone.
I'm just some people some people go, I got my dogs and cats. I'm like, hey,
Yeah,
listen, it is
you
what it
gonna
is.
be a cat. You want to be a cat lady. You know?
Cat lady, hey man, dog. But yeah, all right, man.
All right.
That's pretty much it on that subject for me, man. But
Next one, Summer Walker talked about the side chick scenario. Dr. Bryan, she went real hard in her interview with Shannon Sharp about side chicks. Summer Walker was promoting the side chick type of vibes. Dr. Bryan was destroying it. Look, I'll say this: titles don't define the relationships you have with people. I just keep it straight like that. Dr. Bryan was even saying how some of these men are in love with their side chick that's married. So much so that she got access to them that the wives don't have, and that the side chick is what makes it possible for that man to still have his life the way it is. Um, I just say in life, you can't let other people tell you how to value your role with people. That's between you and that person. Um, you know, a lot of times what tends to happen, let's say a dude or a female take their side person and then they was in love with him as the side person. Now, if it was based on titles, okay, what happens when a person say, "Look, you're the side person. Now I want to make you the main dish," and
mhm,
then the very second they become the main dish, they break up.
mhm.
If it was based on titles, the relationship would always improve. It wouldn't decline. So somewhere is problems within modern monogamy. Somewhere is problems within forced relationships and forced realities. And if people look, when she said, "Look, I just rather be the chick that I don't deal with the stress of dealing with you. I just get, the DICK, and we keep it G, we keep it pushing." You can't then discredit the woman's intelligence nor her value in that situation. Same thing with a dude, Gilbert Arenas. Plenty dudes was like, I'd rather be the dude that you call when your main guy can't get it right. You know what I'm saying? They already have calculated that just because that's your main guy, he's always going to have some type of inconsistency with you because you put him on a pedestal. So your expectations with him will never be met. So the dude on the side can do 10 times less and get 10 times more from that same female. So I don't look at people doing the math and moving accordingly as of a lesser value. That's between you and that person. So you got it.
Oh man, like I said, people will say if you're not the main, then you're on the side, and it's not the same price. Just like ordering entrees, just like ordering appetizers, two different things.
What Fab say,
Value.
he
Hey,
said,
listen, baby. Hey, I'm just saying, man.
entree ain't
Listen.
good without something on the
Hey, listen.
side.
There you go. Hey, it's a
uh,
different price too, baby. Listen, like ordering a combo meal. You know what I'm saying? You got the burger and the fries, but what makes the totality of it is what's being added, not just the single thing.
Mm-hmm.
So most individuals, when it comes to being on the side of something, I always say, hey, bro, what you got going on is what you got going on. I'm not going to be against it. Like you said, some people stay on the side, some get upgraded, some don't get upgraded. Uh, where you place yourself is where you feel like you are most valuable. In the end, you choose what you want to be a part of. In the end, you choose the roles you play. Some people feel like they said titles are some of the biggest things to have in order to move forward. I had a conversation with some married people. They even said out their mouth, there's people that's married that still don't understand the roles of a husband or a wife. So it doesn't matter that you reached a certain stage if you don't actually understand your duties and roles. These are things that people do not, it doesn't click. My favorite thing about the reality of business versus the reality of life is business, when you get titles and roles, those are expectations you are mandatory or hired to do. But since it's on the outside, it's not business and it's more free will, then you have the free will to actually apply by the rules and regulations that certain things have been taught to us or not. And that lets you know what's instilled in an individual. If monetary things keep you alive, you don't really have that type of character. And that's one thing that people don't fail to realize is that's why they say, hey, in business, you're somebody else versus on the outside world. It's because you're abiding by certain rules and principles that govern your safety, your finances, and certain benefits that come with it. But if you can't execute on your own these same type of things on the outside world, you can't say you're at the same value within the outside. This is why some people try to take their title with their job and implement it to every situation. Hey, I'm a director at so and so. Hey, bro, you ordering pizza right now. We don't give a shit. Like it's like common sense when people want to, like I said, they take the roles and the titles for empowerment situations into the outer world, right? Just like some people say, hey, I'm a wife, I'm a husband. That's cool, but what is your character like on a daily basis and interactions with other human beings, and not just within your family? Because you could be a great husband to the family and a shitty man in reality. See, those are two different conflicts that'll happen. So, long to say, I'm not really kind of long with it right there. Short as to say is like the craziest thing is when she was explaining the side chick and your value. I was just looking at it like that's crazy. She's explaining like it might be better to be a side chick at the same time that it is the main dish. I don't know if anybody's like paying attention to what she's saying. If the side chick is having more access to the man than the wife, some people are like, well, why is that? But I also said the counterintuitive for certain things that she has said is that she has said had the same access but never became a wife. She was engaged but never became a wife. So some people look at it like that. It was like, okay, well, you have the same access but never became a wife. But at the same time, you're telling other individuals is that I can get the same access and not become a wife, just like you, even if you called it off. But that's a
It's, it's all the same, like what we just talked about. What's done in the dark, what's done in the light. Some people, this also the same person that says she doesn't have casual sex, but she's into women openly dating until they start dating exclusively. Okay, well, uh, openly dating, whether you're sleeping with all the guys or not, you're still interacting with multiple people. Somebody's getting led on somewhere. Somebody getting played with. Somebody getting toyed with. Somebody getting more. Somebody getting less. It's all the same.
I don't think that.
Look,
I'll be honest. I don't think she's that transparent either. I
then
think
she
that
was like,
it's
she
just for show.
he dealt with the same dude for 5 years. They was never official. Paul Pierce was like, okay, so you was somebody's work, or they was your work as a side piece. Like,
Yeah,
I was like, yo, like, I was like, yo, this shit is hilarious, man. Like, people be judging, but they do the same shit, and then you got some people that's just out and open with it, and we
man. My
disrespect the
favorite
people
thing.
that's out and open with it. But yeah,
I, I'm about to say my favorite thing is watching people get caught up in the things they say, and you can backtrack the information that they say previously. That's why sometimes say it's okay to just tell the truth and leave it alone. Because, like you said, yeah, keep up with every lie afterwards. Why do it? That's
true.
too stressful for me.
Yes.
Um, but I'm pretty sure we're done with the side chick
Mm,
information.
mm,
But I would also say be careful on the information you receive. Like I said, from listening to it, I was like, really kind of pushing that side chick role to a person that, hey, this might be better. Like I said, there's side chicks who got upgraded and side chicks who never became, who got the position that the wife has. But guess what? Side chicks that also got upgraded also understood, well, hey, now that I'm here, guess what? He might have something on the side now. So it's a repetitive cycle at the same time. So, yeah, that's pretty much it, Ron, man.
All right, last one, Dr. Umar. Seen a Diddy documentary. It was like, it's a great documentary, brother. But if you really look at it, the mechanical situation of the presentation was that, the black man destroying the black man, and why he didn't do no documentary on Epstein, a white man, brother. And I'm just like, everything ain't about race, dog. Everything not about self hatred. Everything's not about that narrative. Like, I feel like everybody, no matter what you're into, whether it's in your lower nature or your higher nature, you still got to come up for air. No matter what it is, you still got to come up for air, breathe, look around a little bit, see something different, be in different situations, different environments, challenge your dispositions 24/7. Uh, it's starting to sound like people really don't navigate enough. I know some people say live and die by what you stand for, but that's supposed to be principles, morals, codes, not groups, organizations, cliques, gangs. You know, you're not supposed to live and die by those things, classifications, titles. You're supposed to live and die by what you can't go to sleep with on your conscience, your actions, not what you belong to. So I think that dude, he just belonged to a world uh, where he can't see nothing outside of that world. It's sad, but yeah, a black man doing a documentary on another black man has nothing to do with self hatred at that point. That's in politics. When we have whistleblowers, we don't say that's self hatred because a white guy is telling what's going on behind the scenes in politics. We don't say that. When religious figures came and told truth to the masses, we didn't say that was self hatred. We said, okay, that person came, they was chosen, they had a message, they went against the system. So it's just crazy how we move the goalposts. But yeah, that's all I got on that.
No, man, situation simple with me. Everything is not what you think it is. I think that's the main thing I always say about Dr. Umar. I think he kind of goes overboard when it comes to situations based on the things that he keeps within his mind, how things should be done. That the I'm gonna say it. I think the need to stay relevant is one of the also the things that I see as well. Can I knock down his education? Can I knock down his knowledge? Absolutely not. But everything I see is like, yo, fam, it's not what it is. Yeah, whites that do documentary over white people, but and there are also whites that do things over black individuals if they have more uh, information and knowledge over it. Like they have more like technology, they'll do documentaries on anybody. You know what I'm saying? But
Mhm.
it's just crazy to me that it's everybody. It seems like I said, you got to watch the people that take up for people who have done wrong.
Hmm.
You got to watch out for it.
Yep.
Now, the only I think one of the biggest differences between the situation about the documentary of Diddy being caught doing what he's doing, 50's very open about what he does. I don't think you can't say he do wrong. He know he's like, hey, bro, I am who I am. He'll let you know. People that caught him on camera doing whatever. He's not painted. This is the difference. He never paints himself as a picture that he won't do something. He's never done it. He has never done it. There's a difference if you have created a picture, a fantasy of how good and powerful what it is to like to work with you, be next to you, and do certain things, and then here's the footage of you showing something else. That's the difference. So you can't hurt somebody who's willing to hurt other people. Let me be honest, you can't hurt somebody who's willing to hurt other people. Like whether you want to say that's good or bad, and what I mean by that is I'll say this. I only see 50 move on the basis of when he's disrespected or somebody comes after him. I'll check again to make sure he throws the first shot. The only time I seen him throw the first shot was when he made the song "How to Rob," and that was him trying to break into the industry, try to get himself in there. and doing stuff like that. I say maybe he did the first shot there. Other than that, majority of the time, I see people come after 50 24/7. And that's what happens when you go against somebody who's powerful. They always say, listen, power comes with resources and networking. And people want to go against individuals who have more than them, not understanding you can get clipped. Situation going on right now. The podcast was Mano, Jim Jones, who was it? Fabulous. I'm trying to remember the
Davies,
last person's name.
Davies,
Who you say?
Davies, Jim Jones,
Dave,
man, I'm
Dave East. He said something. He's like, hold on, fam. Like, are y'all really talking? And the biggest shocker to me, and I think X was like, Fabulous was talking about it, and everybody seen the situation, how Fabulous was uncomfortable getting hit on by a grown man in front of everybody, live, being recorded, and it became an episode. It's like, yo, fam, you defending that?
like it
You
was
really defending
scrapping and
that?
scraping for shit, daddy.
He's scraping his skin for his daddy, like, you know what I'm saying? We made a joke. He probably said, "Look, I like how you wear them jerseys, Daddy." You know what I'm saying? I like, ain't no way, like you defend something like that. But they always say you gotta be careful who people who are defending other people because they might have something on them at the same time. We don't
Mm-hmm.
know, but at the same time, some people gotta learn to keep their mouth closed. If you don't have the power of the network, going after certain people is the dumbest move you can ever do. Dumb. Because now he said, "I'm gonna buy the building in 50% of your podcast." I thought it was hilarious. I was like, you should have kept your mouth closed. If you don't have the ability to own everything outright or put yourself in positions where you can't be compromised,
Can't beef.
like, huh?
You can't beef.
You can't beef. You can't beef.
You ain't ready. What Pac say? Uh, told me don't go to war unless I got my money right. I got my money right. Now I want war. Like,
Yeah, I was just about to say Gucci. It take money to go to war, and we can go to war. So hey, that's it right there for me.
all right, cool. Main event. God and personal relationships. People and God. Um, Me personally, I've been overwhelmed lately with the open confessions of people with God. Whether it's personal conversations, interviews, when people do something simple as like they didn't win the championship, they just won a game. First off, the interviewer, like, how do you feel? Your team won the game. How did you do it? Well, first off, I want to thank God. I'm like, damn, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I'm like, I'm like cringing because I'm like, well, you do realize if you're saying that God or Jesus was with you and that's how you won, then God or Jesus wasn't with the team that lost. When you make it so personal, that's literally what you're doing. You're personalizing yourself over other people and believers or non-believers, and you're making it seem like you have something special with God that other people don't. It's not because you studied film, you practiced, you worked hard, you prepped harder than the other person. It's because you had some type of favor, right, from the same source that's supposed to be non-biased to everybody. And then I've heard women say this a lot, God can play about me. And I'm like, so he plays about everybody else? Like, what? When you intimate certain things that's left, it means right is only viewed a certain way, and you can't change the narrative. So when one person says, God bless me, you're saying that God didn't bless somebody else in that same situation. So sometimes we forget what we said for the people that rock with religious beliefs, maybe Christian. Uh, what they say, 80% actions, 20% prayer. You know, what I mean, we forgot what they say. Faith without works is dead. But when people win things, they go to faith, not work. I remember one year Snoop Dogg won something. He said, first off, I want to thank myself. I really connected with that because no matter what you believe in, if you didn't set something in your mind and do something different than the other person personally, then you wouldn't be in that position personally. Because everybody has access to God, quote unquote. Everybody got the same access to that. That's a universal energy. Napoleon Hill refers to it as infinite intelligence. It's not a favorable thing to where God just rocks with you harder than everybody else. To the overzealous spiritual Christian who feel like they eat and taste God and they just so connected to God or Jesus, that's also saying that other people aren't having that experience on the same level as you. And then if you throw all of those people in the same round table, egotistically, they're going to try to figure out who's more connected versus just accepting everyone is tapped in to a certain degree, a certain level. So this brings up the conversation of people and God. The most beneficial ways people lived in society is religion and politics is done at home. Now we see people going out into these grand stages to where the women can profess God, but still do OnlyFans. You know what I'm saying? It's like people are saying one thing, but they do the completely opposite, but they still have the spiritual favor. So I'm curious. We're going to talk about it. I'm curious. So you got
Oh man, with me when it came to the subject when you was
it.
talking about it, I would say morally correct, righteousness, and ethics, and ethical. I think at their speeches for so long, when people say, "I want to thank God," I think that's the number one thing to actually do when it comes to accepting rewards, graduations, ceremonies. It's become one of the most common things that you have here. So it's like in your mind, that's what I need to roll with. Versus, what would you really say if you never heard those lines at the same time? What I'm saying is, like, what you have seen somebody do so many times, you'll naturally do and think it's a part of the show or a part of the behavior. What was that? Apollo Theater was one of the things they used to always do. They come on stage, they rub that, what was that, wood or something? I forgot. They rub that little magic thing. I forgot what it's called. Before they go on stage perform, they always rubbed it. That was just a natural thing to do. You know what I'm saying? It was supposed to be for like good luck, to be able to perform better, whatever it was. So, like I said, you naturally see what other people do, you do it automatically. Um, when it comes to the situation with people and God, I always say, you know the difference between people who are submitted to the covenant and apply by the rules of the Bible versus people who say they're protected by God, but they do other things. So you have people that say, like, I'm a Christian, I'm a Catholic, I'm a Islam, but it's more on the basis for afterlife, meaning like, hey, I'm part of this, so afterlife, I'm going to heaven, versus actually living the lifestyle of what it is to be Christian, Catholic, or Islam. So there's always a big difference. This is why sometimes people praise out loud or say things out loud, but they don't have the action. This is why one of the biggest things where people start separating themselves from churches was watching individuals claim one thing but be a hypocrite next, right? You go and there people like, man, they in church, they're so godly, but as soon as they left it, there's somebody else. So it's like we want to be able to pick the how you would say pick the position of when to do things correctly versus actually live it correctly. Uh, X said not too long ago, he's like, look, Angel Reese doing it right now. She's thanking God and for her accomplishment and everything that happens. But at the same time, if you look at her lifestyle and how she maneuvers, how she talks, how she dresses, is that really in God's favor? Or are we picking and selecting when do we choose to put God in our life? So that's one of the biggest things that I say when it comes to people and God. You have, and then from there you can create overzealous type of situations.
Your actions is what define a man or woman, not your beliefs. We got to kill this notion of, you know, at the lowest level, I can rob, steal, and kill, but God know my heart. Hmm. Uh, I can do all these things, but God got me. Hmm. It's like people, once they find these personal odd connections with God, there's something within them that says, don't fully submit to the will of God. No, 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 no. I'm going to fully submit to the will of myself, and I'm going to use this relationship to test the boundaries. I know I'm not supposed to be here, but hey, God got me. I know I'm not supposed to be in this environment, but God, I walk with God. You hear these repetitive statements coming from people, and it's like, okay, you confess with your tongue that you love God, but in order to love God, you first got to love yourself. because you need God as a foundational system of belief, but God also needs you to live within your body, embody your body. You forgot that. When people follow Christ, you don't follow the person, you follow the energy. If you follow the person on another flip side, then you follow what the person did. I mean, you eat the same way, you live the same way, you find out what did this person do on a 24/7 daily basis, and now you mimic his actions. That's how you have the complete product. Our standards and boundaries with God are so loose. When we engage with other people, we tend to carry that same energy in those relationships. Yeah, I know I'm your father and your mother, but I'm gonna do whatever. But you know, do as I say, don't do as I do.
Mm-hmm.
So repetitive energy. Yeah, I know. I confess my love and all that, but hey, I'm only human, huh? Like it's this high proclamation, and then it's these low activity frequency actions. Even the Dr. Brian interview with Shannon Sharp, everything that she could have said, hey, look, I fucked up, I did something wrong. She
Never.
clouded it with Bible texture and
Yeah,
verses
that's what I was like. Is anybody peeping that, bro? I
to
said, is
relate her
anybody
failures
peeping?
to the Bible. And people do this. It's not that I did something wrong. If you really look at the text, brother, it says that a fruit tree is only fruitful and valuable. And you're like, fam, like sometimes people take belief and you're just equivalent to the person that's schizophrenic or bipolar because y'all all have a mental disorder at some point
Mm.
because your beliefs cripple you more than they help you. Just like a person with that's schizophrenic that's living in a false reality. Um, and they're not able to equate reality from things that's not real. It's the same thing.
Mm.
So some people are better off just not even going into religion because it caps their brain to be able to think. So your actions have to align with what you believe in. That's the only way you believe in what you believe in. At some point, you have to put a standard. The same way when we date, we say I have standards and boundaries in relationships. I ain't gonna do business and let a person fuck over me. Um, you know, why not have that same relationship with God? Why does this have to be so open that you get to do whatever you want to do, still keep this favor, but never, it baffles me when I know people that's been religious all their life or past 10 years or past so many years and they never read the whole book of what they believe in. I get a little curious then. I get a little curious. I'm like, fam, you never read the whole book. So I'm like, when
Man,
you pray and you're asking for shit, what are you doing to deserve your prayers to be answered other than just believing? We make that shit so easy when it's supposed to be the most complicated thing. And then you wonder why the world is so fucked up. Everybody is doing fucked up shit in politics. Everybody is doing fucked up shit all around the world. It's just crazy. We got these two major religions, Islam and Christianity, and everybody professes God but does the complete opposite. And you wonder why the world is the way it is. Because a lot of people don't have standards on their belief. You just believe. That doesn't check out, fam. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna get in the room with some real people that's really about their life, and you're not gonna fit in that room. So I would just say, like, you have to look at selling points. How did you get sold into something? When people say, fam, you ain't gotta do nothing, you just gotta believe and you get eternal freedom, I'm a little skeptical of that. The story sounds too good.
mm.
People will be just that skeptical in the relationship. Fam, you ain't gotta do nothing. You just gotta marry her and she gonna act right. You just gotta apply for the job, you're gonna get the job and go straight to the top. You're gonna be a CEO in a year. No one believes these narratives with anything else, but with God, it's that simple. Nope, it's not that simple. And that's why the world is the way it is. We talk about 50 making a Diddy documentary and call that self hatred, whatever. But we don't look at how many things was done evil in the name of God. Crusades, murders, wars. Uh, the list goes on and on and on. Why would God allow his name to be dirtied up like that by the actions of man? And people still confess the name of God. It doesn't line up. It doesn't. So I'll let you do your thing.
Oh man, when you was talking, man, scripture came to my mind was James 14, man. And I was like, man,
Okay.
type it in
Okay.
real quick. It
Okay.
says, anyone who knows the right thing to do and fails to do it, for him, it is a sin. That means
Mm.
people who feel like you can keep sinning and keep sinning and keep sinning, no. He's basically saying, like, after you have done it and you still want to keep doing it, you don't basically accept my mercy and grace. You're not going to be able to. It's not going to be accepted because you're basically showing that you're still going to keep doing the same thing and feeling like you can keep restarting. And that's one of the main things that people don't realize when it comes to uh, being a person who's disciplined and practice the Bible. One of the biggest things I have asked somebody in the past, I said, listen, if you get married, what's the covenant that you get married under? And have you already submitted to God before we choose this as a covenant? Man, when I tell you people don't even know how to respond to that question, it really lets you know, do they really believe in what they're saying? Or do we just pick apart what we feel is safe? I told X before. I said, "Listen, if I go down as a person that's non-denomination and I study a lot of different religions and stuff like that. If I ever choose to put the covenant over, if I select the covenant, let's just select the covenant, I have to know that woman has already submitted 100% to what she believes in. Why do I say that? We won't have any arguments between us because we both have already submitted to God. This is why when they say you want somebody that's God fearing, a man fears God when he knows he's still not applying himself in the favor of how God sees man. That's God fearing. But what I see when it comes to women is like you want a God fearing man, but you still want the modern access to be fluid. No, that doesn't go together. The only thing that should be still within both individuals is the covenant, which is the foundation, which is the protection, and then you have a relationship with each other. But anytime things go left within your relationships, you go back to the covenant of your foundation under the principle and guidelines what it is to be within a relationship with each other. Now, one of the things they said that was very interesting. Listen, I'll go ahead and do a confession too. Is some people can do wrong and pray right before they do it. One of the things that popped in my head, hey, one of the things that popped in my head, oh, I remember the story Robin Hood, stealing from the rich, give it to the poor. I was like, so is that noble or he's a thief, right? Or as long as we do it to people who have more, is that okay? Like, you got to put things in perspectives when people are teaching you certain things. And people pass it along like, nah, that's okay. Hey, look, white people do it all the time. Hey, politicians do it all the time. Hey, the banks steal money all the time. I'm like, yeah, but now you're stealing. So are you above them or are you on the same level now? See, we got to be able to put ethics and morality into certain positions and places, right? I remember, listen, said I have a little confession. Listen, before a brother used to get active at times, me and the homies used to pray before we do it, knowing we about to do some wrong stuff. But see, that type of energy was knowing that we're about to do something that could be harmful, uh, distasteful, and it can go left and it can go right. And sometimes it wasn't always on the basis of something going left. But at the same time, we know what type of activities we're going to be engaging in, right? Just like some people be like, yo, bless the food. If you only bless the food and what you only eat, why don't you bless yourself throughout the day at the same time? The life you're able to breathe, stuff like that. The first thing I was always taught when growing up as a child was say thank you the minute you wake up for you able to breathe and actually have another day. So there's small things and steps that shows the appreciation of life that God has given you. But we always say sometimes people only call on God when they want something, when things are going bad for them, when things are falling down. You should be able to have that conversation with God about anything, direction, direction. Like I said, the Bible's a lot about direction, guidance, to be able to know how to live a plentiful life, a fruitful life, a righteous, righteous life. And these are some of the core things that people got to be able to pay attention to when it comes to uh, saying you believe something, but not actually having the actions, the activity to prove it as well. For myself, I hold myself to a certain value that even listen, me and X bump heads when we bump heads and we stand on principles or whatever we think we believe in. But we always get that information across to make sure either we understand where we're coming from or we don't. And then we'll have that conversation later on in life. Be like, all right, I see where you're coming from. I would say be careful of those who talk righteous but live wrong. Charisma,
Um,
influence, and manipulation. Some people will say they're on the same line, and some people say they're not. I remember at times literally hearing other parents say, honor thy mother and father, thy days on earth should be longer. But I'm watching you move as a parent, and there's the activities you're doing is not really showing anything that's honorable at the same time, that's righteousness at the same time. But like they said, hey, do as I say and not as I do, and feel like, hey, that's excusable. No, you're still going to be held accountable at the same time.
I like
That's all
that.
right.
I like that old school religion where everything was fire and brimstone. Everything was flood the planet, burn the village. I like that because it put a standard on people's actions and behavior. When we get to this space of open freedom and acceptability in this great story, I know people personally that was Christian that said, look, it's not that I didn't believe anymore. I just converted because I need something that was more strict.
Mm-hmm.
They literally said that. I just need something that's more strict. This is too loose. You know what I'm saying? You said something that was key. People be like, yo, bless the food. You mean the food that God told you not to eat? How do you do that? How do you bless the food that God told you not to eat? For a lot of people that believe in the Bible or Christianity, that means you have a dietary regimen. In the Old Testament, that was a dietary regimen. You
Mm-hmm.
wasn't supposed to eat certain meats, consume certain animals.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then in the New
Mm-hmm.
Testament, they say it's not what goes into a man's mouth that defiles him, but what comes out of his mouth. And then also in that same message, Jesus said, I come not to change the law, but to fulfill it. That's two
Mm-hmm.
completely different things. So I would say, like, we have to decode the messages. We have faith, and then we have people that wrote about faith. And we have to separate the two, even though it may be in the same book. Paul really just messed up a lot of things. The Pauline epistles really came up with these letters to where salvation was open to believers, and no matter what you did, you good.
Mm-hmm.
Before Paul, this was unheard of,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So I would say keep these things in mind. Even when you read your quote unquote book that you don't read, um, look at the messages and where they're coming from and compare it to the people that they're referring to and how they actually lived. Like one thing I like about walking different lives in one existence in the lower nature is it gives you a balance somehow. Like when we used to do the whole like, the gang and the clique thing in like the early 2000s, mid 2000s, it was very intense in the city, where you follow rules, regulations, laws. You wore certain colors, people would put band-aids and shit on these clothes to
Mm-hmm.
make sure they didn't cross the line of violations.
Mm-hmm.
People that didn't know each other for the first time, you ran that person down. We call it K. Do you know your K? You know what I'm saying? Who's this? Who's that? I need to know your basics. You didn't know these questions, you got violated.
Violations.
So it put people in a world to where you really bang this and you believe in this. There's knowledge, there's rules, there's regulations, and there's disciplinary actions for everything. You
Mm-hmm.
break one of these laws, we on your ass.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just amazing that in the lower nature of things, you see more structure than things, quote unquote, in the higher natures of things when it pertains to certain religions. Not everything. There are some spiritual people that's not, quote unquote, religious who live a very disciplined life. They
Mm-hmm.
pray and meditate every day. They wake up around the same time. They read, they study every day. They have a certain diet. They probably vegan or, some type of vegetarian or, they only eat meat so many times. They study science and then they apply science to their life. They study quantum physics. They apply everything to get them to the high version of themselves to their life. And they call that being in tune with God. those people are a lot more strict than just people that just believe.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So just certain things we got to pay attention to. So I think that's the beauty of sometimes living multiple lives in one is because you remember at your lower nature it was rules. You know what I'm saying? Certain people you can't go to certain hoods, you can't do certain things in your lower nature because you know it's consequences. But
Mm.
somehow this miraculous story, there's no consequences, man. You know what I'm saying? We forgot that supposedly when you die, you're supposed to hear, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." How are you a good and faithful servant if you never was faithful?
Mm.
How? You know what I'm saying? So certain things you got to put into perspective. And then you have people historically in a modern time, you know, when we watch the Diddy documentaries, Diddy was somebody that really confessed God a lot, a lot, a lot.
He did it. He did it in a video, manipulate people. God told me not to do nothing, but He told me to tell you to do something. I'm like, what? Yeah, what?
You know what I'm saying? So it's like Lauryn Hill said something that was powerful on her
Yeah.
album, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Man, lie to God, so what makes you think they won't lie to you? Very, very powerful thing. People manipulate God more than they believe in God. And then you had the main emperor of this religion, Emperor Constantine, who literally sinned all the way up into his death and didn't get baptized until his death because he believed that he would still go to heaven because he got baptized before he died. This is the thing. When you adopt to a system, you don't just adopt to the beliefs, you adopt to the cultures. You adopt to the cultural diffusion. You adopt to things that people it's like a gumbo pot. You know what I'm saying? So when you consume gumbo, you taste everything in the pot. The seasonings from these people, the you know what I'm saying? It's like a gumbo pot. You're able to experience that gumbo because you experience the multiple cultural diffusion in that pot. And that's sometimes what we do with these religions and don't know it. So I always say, study your books, put yourself on the standard, put yourself, you know what I'm saying, to where you have boundaries with it. Strive every day to do your best. When people start accepting that I'm a loser and I'm a center shit and I'm always going to be beneath perfection, I can't fuck with you. I don't care what you believe in. Because you just let me know you'll fuck me over. It'd be okay with it. You just let me know you'll fuck over your family, you'll fuck over everybody because you don't have a standard or a boundary on how you should maneuver throughout life. I only fuck with people that have morals, principles, code of ethics, conduct. Those are the people that I rock with. No matter what you believe in or say with your tongue, what are your actions? How do you live? What do you eat? What do you do? What's the boundaries that you put on yourself? So I fuck with people that's more extreme than overzealous, and that's just me. So you got it.
Oh man, I don't even have too much to say when it comes
Mhm.
to on my third part. But I'll say this at the same time. It's important to know what registers with you. Like I said, some people feel inclined to follow the same things that was given to them or follow behind something. One of the things I say that X talked about when it came to your lower nature and following certain principles and codes. Listen, the person who was supposed to teach you, they even got violated. Nobody listened. Imagine if we took those same principles and applied it to parenting. Your parents not teaching you? Hey, listen, we're gonna have to tighten up that mother and father. Do you understand how this world would be if the disciplines and structure was had it on a lower nature? It'd be a
Mhm.
lot different. See,
Mhm.
as he said, he was looking for a structure. Some people are looking more at structure and discipline, and why they converted to different other religions. You know what else they also say? Listen, I gotta go to the military. I need to become more structured.
Mhm.
And you know what? I would
Mhm.
even say that's on a lower nature, but it's different between you knowing there's disciplinary there's disciplinary action and consequences within the military. You gotta wake up at a certain time, do certain things, do all that. It takes. I would never say. I would say there's a difference between natural discipline, instilled discipline, and practicing. Right? Instilled discipline is somebody who's gonna do things regardless of anybody being around them. That's instilled discipline. I say no. Instilled discipline would be like more like military. My fault. I did that backwards. It's more like
Mhm.
military. They're instilling discipline in what you're going to have to do on a daily basis. A natural discipline is when you naturally get up and know you have to do certain things in order to make your day be fulfilled. What is you gotta wake up, you gotta read a couple pages, you gotta wake up, you're gonna eat certain foods. That's natural discipline. You're disciplining yourself, right? And then there's taught this, and then there's that's still discipline, natural discipline, and I'm trying to remember the last discipline, but it'll come back to me as I'm talking. So when you understand certain disciplinary actions, you got to ask yourself: is certain things instilled in you, or is some things natural? All right. I have instilled disciplines in me, and I also have natural disciplines, and I also have unnatural disciplines. I mean, it's stuff I've done unconsciously, not knowing that it was a discipline or not. See, people don't talk about that as well. You could do something that you don't even know is a negative discipline to your own body, and think it's not a discipline because it's not giving you results on a we'll say on any different level, right? Toxic behaviors is a unnatural discipline. I'll say I'll say that within itself. That's because it makes you have spontaneous type of exposures, emotional imbalances. Be honest, bro. To be toxic, you got to be somewhat creative too. You got to be somewhat creative. I think you do have to be somewhat creative to know what you're gonna do at the same time. That's it's calculated, but and sometimes it's not. That's what I say. It's unnatural. Now, last thing I'll say over the situation when it comes to people and God is I remember the situation with Tim Tebow, right? I don't know if anybody remember Tim Tebow. Your boy was a star. Came out of college. Everyone's like, man, Tim Tebow gonna be that guy. Tim Tebow. The interviews and people around him used to get sick of him. You know why? Every used to say like, "Hey, what did you think about the game?" Tim Tebow. Well, listen, I want to thank God for. They used to get tired of this man always thanking God in every interview. And there's a saying that, hey, look, can't remember the scripture. I ain't trying to go off the top of my head, but basically saying like, if you confess Jesus Christ as God, and those around you will who naturally rebel from it, or those are not the people to be around you. But what if I also said those same people who confess God so much in Jesus and live a different lifestyle is also the reason why people get turned off to religion and God within itself. And that was one of the things about Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow would always profess all the time the love of Jesus Christ and God, and then people find out he was doing something else the whole time. So that's why I said like people want to treat the higher source as they will than it is just to abide by the certain rules and principles.
Hmm. Cool. I think we did our job, man. What you believe in and what you confess with your mouth. Make sure your actions are intact to the fullest degree. And just like you wouldn't quote unquote accept failure in life, don't accept failure in faith. Uh,
Oof.
yeah, and I think we can we can end it on that. When you put into your brain that failure is inevitable, then what do? You most likely fail. So we have a lot of people that's failing in life who still believe because of how they believe, not in who they believe. So
Mm.
get your mind right, get your actions right. You know, cool.
All right, man. Anything else, man? Anything else you want to talk on?
Nah, nothing else, man. All right, up top we got No Ordinary Brother, aka Juice. I go by the name of King Exodus. We appreciate your time. Thank you for tapping in. Make sure you engage into the content and share the content. And we out.
All right, y'all. Peace.